Hello, people with good taste. Welcome to the When We Cry pod, and this time we have another guest. It's August Hale. Hello.
Hi, how you guys doing today?
I'll be your main host for this episode, Des, and I am here with...
Horsecam, as played by Chris Pratt.
Wow.
And this is your friendly neighborhood mushroom, finally having a new computer, so ready to record and ready to edit.
Yeah, who are you played by?
I would like to be played by... I want to be played by Lucy Liu. That's really cool.
Lucy Liu? Wow.
I don't know, I think she's really hot.
I haven't heard from her in a while. Last time I seen her was in
Charlie's Angels?
No, last time I seen her was Elementary.
Oh, yeah.
She plays Watch-In.
Did you know that I have watched all 7 seasons of Elementary, even though I think the show is shit, but it's really, really good?
I think it's good, but I've only seen the first 2 seasons. Because
Yeah.
I watched the second season, and I was very turned off by a lot of the plots in it.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. Elementary is good, but don't watch it. It's my trash.
Okay, anyways.
So, August, you've played Higurashi, right? I remember seeing Higurashi in your channel.
Yes.
We're just gonna put a spoiler warning for both Higurashi and Umineko, just so you have more freedom of what you may want to talk about.
Okay. Question: does this also include the most recent season of Higurashi, Gou and Sotsu as well? Since
Yeah.
that had
Yeah. Sure, we can do that.
If you've seen it, yeah.
I've done a full coverage on both seasons, and it was quite a ride.
We'll talk. We'll get there. We'll get there.
I remember watching your videos on it every time a new episode would come out, and then I think there was one video where you would just like, and that's everything that happened on this episode. God damn, some episodes just really had nothing in it, but
Sotsu was rough to sit through, to be quite honest. Like, it was giving the answers. I would have preferred the execution to be a little bit better.
Yeah.
Personally.
So I think that's a good bridge into our first topic, which is actually describing what your channel is about. So do you want to be the one to tell the audience what you do on YouTube?
All right, sure. So I'm a YouTube content creator. I cover visual novels more in-depthly. I cover anything from reviews. I cover analysis videos on particular visual novels. I also cover anime adaptations between the anime adaptation and the visual novel. And the one in particular subject is the Experience series, which is just me covering my first reactions to particular series. And for this one, the very first one was the Umineko series.
Yeah.
There's a couple of Experience series that should be on my channel about now. But overall, it's still the same general concept of just, it's my first reaction to everything and experiencing the story. But traditionally, I cover both older and recent Japanese anime visual novel releases.
Yeah, I really recommend everyone go watch the Experience videos about Umineko because they're just really funny, and it's not like a regular playthrough that's just very like the same length as Umineko itself. Like August edits and chooses clips, like the funny bits. So it's just really
It's a very snappy.
It's
a good way to experience.
Yeah.
I would put it on par with the I forced my younger sister to read Umineko and now she hates me.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Sorry, August. I don't know if you have ever seen that YouTube channel or have seen any of the videos, but I say it's very good, but it gives me the same vibes. That's one of the reasons why I think I was the first of the people on the server who found out about you, and I was so excited that I just like posted your link into the server because I was like, oh, this is really good. Like, everybody should watch it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, I only found out you from your Gou and Sotsu stuff. Because, like, yeah, because I watched them when you made the visual novel thing when the first 2 episodes, and it was a very interesting time.
Yes. Like, isn't your Go/Sotsu series called Visual Novel Comparison? So.
Yeah, because like I know, like one of our members like saw that and they went, "Oh."
Yeah, so it's like, yeah, it's a visual novel comparison series. Episode 2 hits, or at least the end of episode 1 into episode 2 was like, wait a minute, I got you.
Yeah. I'm glad you stuck with it. I'm really glad you just stuck with it, even though it was completely different.
I feel like it's great because the irony just gets thicker and thicker by the day.
I think the amount of people who weren't surprised is very little, to be quite honest. Everyone was just expecting just a redone version of Higurashi, and to be honest, that would have been a absolutely fantastic way to re-experience the series. Like, it's what, 2003? It's that old now.
Yeah.
So, and still to this day, I still consider it like to be a fairly good visual novel adaptation. To like, on the contrary of literally what everyone else says about the adaptation, I still think it's very good. So.
I think it does its job well enough to introduce it. I don't think it's adequate. Like, I mean, I feel like anything cannot compare to like for 50 hours of reading. That's like, I mean, I personally will say like, best visual novel adaptation might be like Steins Gate. I think that's one of the best like visual novel to anime adaptation I can think of. But anyway, that's not here or near there. So should we keep going with our questions, Des?
Yes. So you are here on a When They Cry podcast. So I would like you to tell us about your experience with the When They Cry series. Why did you get into it? Why did you stick with it enough to read the other biggest visual novel in the series?
All right, so let's go back into the far past. So when I first started watching anime, one of the actual first anime I actually watched was the original Higurashi, the Studio Dean adaptation back in 2003. And I think it was just curious about it because I was just looking for anime to watch. Considering that my very first anime was Sword Art Online, I was pretty much open to basically everything.
Yeah.
So I watched Higurashi, and I actually ended up really liking just the whole story, not just specifically like the horror aspect of it, but I really liked like the second season, Higurashi Kai, and I think that's like where my love for the series was founded and based on was Kai itself. So fast forward a couple of years, I've watched numerous anime and read tons of manga and light novels and visual novels, but then we have the announcement of the Higurashi Go anime. And so that's when I decided to revisit the series now that I've started covering visual novels. I read the Higurashi visual novel and I remembered why I still liked it so much. It was still very good. And it was especially great as a visual novel. So there's that. In terms of order of the events, I finished both Higurashi visual novels. Then I watched Higurashi Go. Then once Go ended, then I read Umineko because of the very particular Umineko references, or rather, when they cry references.
Yeah, when the Umineko fans were like, "You guys got to read Umineko to understand Go."
To be fair, we didn't know where the story was going. It really, fucking. I don't think I need to elaborate. Like the fucking that one character. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like, I guess, like, they also dropped, like, Ciconia stuff, and that's actually one of the reasons why I ended up reading Ciconia. Not because of Go, of course, but, like, because, like, Ciconia suddenly became, like, the talk of the town, because everybody's like, yeah, like, now even Umineko people are not Chaz anymore. It's only the Ciconia people, like, Ciconia people stand alone, strong, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'll read you, like...
I very fondly remember my experience because of the series. I think at the very, like, one of the clips of the very beginning intro of the episode was just like, it was just showed the introduction of the new character, and I was thinking, all right, guys, I have a confession. I have not read Umineko. Next episode comes around, all right, guys, I have a confession. I have not read Ciconia either. So
I was like, oh yeah, because but that episode was really great because at that point, Des and I were the only ones in the podcast who've ever read Ciconia, and we're like, you want to do an episode just about this one episode?
Yeah, we just the two of us.
Just to flex on everyone.
Yeah.
Just screaming for that one line of detail. It's like, oh man, this means so much now.
I mean, it was a good insight to what it was at the time, what we were thinking at the time.
Yeah.
But, like, now I think about it, I think it's kind of useless.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think so. even though we recorded like half an hour of content for this one fucking line, I still think that that's good content there. I think we managed to talk about interesting stuff in there. It's not like we were, making an episode for the sake of making an episode. We did it because we had stuff to talk about.
I think one of the, like, despite all the bunch of the controversy behind Higurashi Go and Higurashi-Sotsu, because that is its own pile
A can of
mess to
worms.
deal
Yeah,
with.
of
Yes,
course.
exactly.
We have like hours of content just on that.
Yeah, but I think one of the great things about it is that it brought more fans into the One They Cry universe, and that is definitely much appreciated because there's a lot more people to talk about specific theories, their discussions, any other wild memes they come up with.
Yeah.
It's been quite interesting to see.
Yeah,
So.
it's a fandom revival.
Yeah, Gotsu really kind of.
Good.
I think I had a really. That's what I call Go and Sotsu.
Yeah, I got
Gotsu just really like. I had a really fun experience just being a part of the community during that time. Like if I watched Gotsu like after the fact, watch it all and would be like, oh, that was an alright series followed by a terrible second season like every other anime out there.
But instead, you got to watch it with a bunch of crazy people on Twitter.
Yes.
Yeah. So the funny thing is that people thought they knew what was coming up, but then they really didn't know what anything was coming up at all. So pretty much everyone was their first time in terms of watching the series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good or bad, that is entirely up to everyone's own interpretation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm excited for Ciconia to be kind of in the forefront for when they cry.
Yeah, but well, the fucking Gou and Sotsu is in the past. There's a lot that we could talk about it. There's a lot that we have already talked about it. But, it's, as August said, it's a big topic, and we're not here to talk about Gou and Sotsu, or we'd literally be here
No.
forever. So, back to Umineko and your experience with Umineko series, which again people should totally go watch because it's totally worth your time. But
We'll give a time. We will give links and stuff. Don't worry.
yes. So about Umineko itself, I'd like to ask you, what are some of the most memorable scenes you have with it?
What? That's not the how. You didn't ask the other question before that.
Well, I skipped that question because August has already answered the question. He said he watched the Higurashi anime first, so he already knew about Higurashi and then jumped into Umineko.
In terms of stuff that like about Umineko prior that I didn't know about, it was pretty much absolutely nothing at all. Like I've heard that just the Umineko visual novel was just very good. I've heard that from everywhere pretty much. But I never really dive deep into like the finer details about it. You typically just like to go in blind. Of course, I knew about some character references here and there, mainly because of the similarities. There's the Rika and Frederica Bernkastel connection. There's the Satoko Lambda Delta connection going on there. But aside from that, I pretty much knew nothing about the series beside it being very well regarded and a couple of the main characters, but that is it.
Interesting. So you didn't actually have any like story related spoilers in your whole playthrough then?
No, pretty much going in blind. And I think most people can be very evident based off my my first impression of a particular character in the first episode.
Remind me, I've watched that episode a long time ago now.
So it was the very first experience video. I was covering through my first impressions of all the characters. And then I got to Rosa, and I said, you know what? Rosa looks like a nice, sensible person.
Oh, right. I remember that. That was a very funny, because I think immediately it's juxtaposed, like, not too far of fucking the slap.
That's the one thing that doesn't take long to pay off in Umineko.
No.
Yeah. Turns out, at the time of this recording, I think the most top comment was like exactly that quote. It's just Rosa seems like a sensible person.
It's fine. That's what Battler says when he first sees her too. So you can't fool him.
Yeah, but Battler's an idiot.
Yeah, Badler's an idiot. It can't be helped. It can't be helped. But just overall, Umineko was just a roller coaster of emotions throughout every episode.
Yeah, I just wanted to know how much you haven't known beforehand because since a lot of people I talk to know like lots of like spoilers before they get into Umineko because for a lot of people like spoilers are sometimes the thing that gets you into a series instead of like, get to explore it. So lots of people know who the murderer is or lots of people know like, I don't know.
Wait, what? People walk into Umineko knowing the murderer?
It told you who the culprit is on the wiki, even if you weren't looking for it. That's why
Yeah,
people,
exactly.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh yeah,
Really?
it did tell me, yeah, because that was the old version. Before the wiki updated its mobile thing, it would literally, you would scroll down for the description of episode 1. It would just be like, "Oh, this person's the killer." You wouldn't know who this is, but like,
Yeah, exactly. Like when you're just trying to like look up like what's the first song, what's the name of the song, and you just see it, and you're like, well, I guess my day is ruined.
Yeah.
I think they fixed that now.
Yes.
I don't think that's on it anymore.
No,
I think they
it's
fixed
not.
that like last year.
It's like searching up the name of like an anime, and then you just see the Google autocorrect just like death.
Death. Yes.
It was like, well,
It's like looking at Attack on Titan spoilers or something like that.
No, any anime. It happens with any anime. You just want a nice shot of your favorite character from a series to use as a profile pic, and then it autofills to death or dies, and you're just like, man.
No, man.
Yeah.
it's quite rough, mainly because like sometimes I'll just be doing prior research on a particular video on that I'm working on, and then like I'll need footage, so I'll go to YouTube to just look at what I specifically need, type it in, and be like, oh yeah,
Oh.
because I wouldn't know about that information beforehand. But that said, I still find it like kind of impressive how I managed to just avoid just all of the spoiler stuff, because I just looked one way and just like never looked back, never decided to go into the wiki. The one sketch moment was probably when I had to look up that one particular character in Higurashi Go when that character appeared. And even then I was being like, all right, I don't know anything about this, so just like I'm subconsciously avoiding all of that.
Wow,
Good job.
I'm impressed.
Even if the culprit was spoiled for me, like that's usually not what I'm looking for stories for. Well, I mean, in some cases it does matter, but it's more for me. It more matters like how the actual murder was. Less about how the actual murder was committed, and more like the why, the main
heart
motive, the reason. Like I want to know about the journey from point A to point B, not necessarily why point or what point B is, but everything that happens between it.
Then Umineko was basically tailor-made for you. That's kind of the point of Umineko.
Yeah, there's a lot of content that was just very shocking, thrilling, exciting, terrible.
Like, do you want to give some examples of scenes that stuck with you?
I'm trying to see what the best, because I'm actually curious about what aspects you thought I was going to react to the most. So I'm actually curious of like what I thought about particular things, if you want to start from that. Because I do have stuff about each particular episode, but I figured I want to know what you guys was curious about the most.
Okay,
Yeah.
I actually do have some stuff that I'm curious about. Most people I watch on YouTube who does a playthrough of Umineko, they do like a let's play format. Like for example, like Joe Chronos, we got 2 Chris play, or I guess like Mr. 250, like even Narnith, who clearly don't have a playthrough anymore. So like all these people I watch, they basically, because you watch them week by week or however fast they upload their schedule, they basically arrive at like they have an understanding of how to solve the mystery around like EP4-ish, like EP, or like basically that's when a lot of things clicks together.
Mm-hmm.
So like it was really surprising for me to like watch. So like in my brain sometimes I just think like, oh, most people are able to solve it at EP4, but like that's not really true. Like I think of, like when I think back to myself, I didn't solve it at EP4. I solved it at EP6. Or like I'm currently reading with like a friend of mine who's solved a lot of things in Umineko, but like hasn't solved a murder who like Beatrice is yet. So it was really refreshing to watch your playthrough and to be basically for you to be very unabashedly not like basically, like, a lot of people are very good at solving, and I just like, I enjoy the fact that you like the moments of like Umineko. Like, you still get surprised, like, you like, it's all these things are like really cool to you that like lots of Umineko fans are like, oh well, you're supposed to know that already. But like, I like, that's what I really enjoyed watching your playthrough. Like, when you got to like end of EP4, you're like, whoa, shocking, like, how is that gonna work out? And it was like, and it's fun. Like, I was like really excited for you, like, while you got to that moment. Or like even in EP6 when the trial scene where like both of them pointing guns at each other, like that scene, I was like, I loved your commentary on it. Like, it was very enjoyable in that side.
Yeah, so I'm a dumbass.
We all are.
Then don't be ashamed.
We all are.
No, it's fine because like I'm terrible at mysteries in general because when it comes to those I'm a very logical minded person, but when it comes to actually like here's a puzzle for you to solve, I'll just take like 5 seconds or like a minute on it, and if I can't figure it out, I'll be like, okay, I think I'm done with this right now.
Yeah.
Mysteries aren't necessarily like my strong suit. If anything, it's more along the lines of that instinctual feeling. It's like that eureka, like I got it. This is the culprit, or like, oh, it's this person all along. It's just like, oh, totally knew it, even though when I clearly didn't know the culprit until like 2 seconds ago.
Yeah, I think that's I think that really shows like the way you, because okay, as we were talking about you, Mushroom would usually say that instead of solving the mystery through like sitting down and trying to figure out who has alibis and stuff, the way you would rationalize like the story would be more through the heart instead of being through the actual mystery part.
Yeah, in a way, it's more like I would figure out who the culprit is based off of motive and the reason why they did that certain thing. Not necessarily because of like, oh, this is how they did it, because usually I'm very either disappointed or mad that I just stopped getting angry about it, about those. And I blame a certain author for that. I blame Nisio Isin for that. All this crazy mystery stuff that goes on.
I don't know that name. What did they write?
Nisio Isin is the author of the Monogatari series. He also wrote his verse series, the one that's very mystery based. It's Kubikiri Cycle, and that just makes no sense.
He writes a lot of weird stuff. I say, like, some of them are really good and some of them are just very wacky, I say.
Yeah, so just in mysteries in general, just like Umineko was different in the way that like it actually presented a quote unquote solvable mystery that actually had defining rules that I can figure out. Meanwhile, stories like, I don't know, Danganronpa, it's more based off of a shock value instead of like, oh man, so I totally solved this murder instead of just,
you're gonna get the seesaw just from the beginning of the case.
Yeah, that's just me going through the motions when it comes to like Danganronpa. But for Umineko, it actually forced me to think about the mystery because there was just a lot of different aspects to explore. And eventually, I caught on to that, and along with the people recommending in the comments. So eventually, when the time did come for me, that's when I released my my theories video at the end of episode 6. Where it's like, okay, so here's my thoughts about every character. These are just my stream of consciousness thoughts. I'm probably wrong on all of this, including that including my final conclusion, which I totally understand now. But it's more along the lines of, do I know why the culprit does the things that the culprit did? And that's the reason why I liked episode 7 as much. Like, episode 7 is definitely one of my favorites, and I actually have 2 of the 3 manga volumes of episode 7 on my shelf right now.
Wow. Congratulations. Congratulations on snatching them before they become $500 to buy them.
Yeah.
I was looking at the price for those because, like, oh, you know what? I think it'd be cool to have, like, the entire manga set of Umineko. Tries to look for volume 1. It's like $500 for volume 1, and just like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's because they stopped printing them, and that's insane. I don't know how I did it, but I was able to snatch like 3 volumes in total, and then gave it to my friend. I got one that's from EP4. I got one from EP6. I think I got one from EP8. And now I'm just mad because I'm like, you know that all of those volumes cost like now could sell for $300 at least, you know that. It's insane to think about that. I hope they actually do a reprint. I love the manga and it's so pretty.
We'll get a reprint once the once we get an Umineko remastered.
No!
Yeah, Umineko, go! Let's go!
Yeah, so until then, I'm fine with the volumes. And actually, very interesting. This was just quite random. But when I was going through like one of the old back home, there was a old like thrift gaming shop where you can get a bunch of old retro games. And there's a copy of a limited edition physical set of Umineko for the PS3.
What?
Oh my god, did you buy it? Did you buy it?
Yeah, I bought it. It's actually,
Wow.
it's again sitting on my shelf right now.
Wow,
Oh my
that's
god.
really cool.
I would have bought it no matter if I had a PS3 or not. I was like, that's going on a shelf.
True.
That's going in the glass case.
True.
Wait, how much did you pay for it?
It was like a good like 150.
Oh, it's all right.
It's like not bad. Like it comes with the PS3 version of the game. Actually, it only came with just the question arc. Didn't come with the answer arc
Oh,
for some reason.
Isn't that a different game? Like it's Umineko and then Umineko Chiru.
No, so there's like it's a whole unboxing experience, but like when you pull out the actual box that holds the games, there's spots for 2 games in there.
But there's only one disc.
So on one side there's the question arc, and the other side is the answer arc. So when I looked inside, I was like, wait, there's only one half of it in there.
No.
well, you don't have it. You don't have the answers anymore.
No, he
Sorry.
does. He does. It's just that without Wuff it cannot be seen.
Yeah, clearly it just the answers are hidden.
Yeah, you have to solve a different mysteries to get the answer arcs for the PS3 version.
Oh my god.
So in actually that box is the games, and then there's actually a nice little art book that like shows you all the different CGs and stuff, all the different character designs. There's actually a very exclusive page at the very back showing all of Anjay Beatrice's alternative witch uniforms.
Oh
Yes.
yeah. I love that page. It's just such a nice like tip that they have to give you like all the other ridiculous clothing ideas that they went for.
They were nice ideas.
Yeah,
I liked them.
they were really nice. Oh, okay. So I'm very particular about my character designs, and there's like 1 or 2 I like of Anjay's alternate designs. But overall, I just love the witch aesthetic so much. Like it's so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when we were asking you for which Sona, you could have decided that your clothes to be so much more interesting, you know.
Okay, yeah. So there's that, but also I much rather prefer the more simpler designs. To be quite
I see,
honest.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so do you have a favorite character in Umineko?
Okay. So this is on my actual review video, but I do have a tier list of all the different characters. It's only a snapshot, but I remembered I put Battler at S tier, Beatrice at S tier, Lambda Delta at S tier, and at the very top, or at least at the very top of the A tier, was Erica. And as much as I
Erica's great.
so the entire series, pretty much every time Erica was on screen, I absolutely hated her, guys. It was
Yes.
like, oh man, Erica's a piece of shit. Erica's a piece of shit. It's like, oh man, I just hate her guts. And then there's just the more and more I look fondly upon it, it's just like, Erica's pretty good.
Yeah.
Erica's fucking fun to hate, man. She's a bitch, but
No,
you're like, I want to hang out with this bitch because maybe I'm a masochist, but like, I just like,
It's like, you're a bastard, but you're a lovable bastard.
Yeah, I think it's kind of incredible, like the transition of Umineko fans basically going like literally every time they lock eyes with Erica, they're like, "I'm gonna fucking poison you, you like horrible person," and then like the more you get to it, you're like, "Wow, she's like." Really out there, like what a troll.
Yeah.
And then like in the end you're like, I get her.
Yeah.
it's like the person that you hate, that you every time you're in the room with them, you're like, I fucking hate them, I fucking hate you, and then you leave the room and you're like, actually, they're not a bad person.
No, they are. They are. It's just that they are too charismatic for you to actually hate.
It's like,
Yeah, exactly.
you're a piece of shit, but I like you anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the clown makeup, but the clown makeup you're putting on is Erica. So the more clown makeup you put on, you just become Erica.
Shit, I am
That's basically
Erica.
that. Yeah, exactly. I think like Erica is the type of character that's just like it's fun to hate her. It's like she's so like she's such a shitty person that makes her lovable.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's just a great fun twist on the detective character, because like every detective
Yeah.
character is a smug asshole, and she's just the not she's not smug at all. Because
What?
calling her smug would
Really?
be
What?
well, because smug would encourage her to be be a snobby dick, but she's a bitch.
Which she is both. She is both. What do you mean, Horsegam? She.
Okay, she doesn't have
She's-
this cool demeanor that like. She doesn't have the cool demeanor like I'm smarter than you. It's more like I am smarter than you. I'm gonna prove it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's why I still think about that. I just saw that on the Reddit recently, which is just the Ben Shapiro and his girlfriend, and it's just Ben Shapiro standing next to Erica. Like that image will haunt my nightmares. Like I have seen like people like put like Ben Shapiro text over Erica, like just like. And it just cracks me up. Like, actually,
Yeah.
oh, so funny to me. But yes,
Erica is one particular individual, and it's really weird when I was first seeing her for the first time, because normally I really like detective characters, even though I surprisingly never actually read an actual physical detective novel. But regardless, like I just like their whole side of justice in terms of like, all right, so we got to figure out the murder, we got to do the right thing, and there's always some nice moral at the end of it. So just seeing Erica was just like completely going against my entire like moral expectations of like, you know, detectives are supposed to be moderately nice people. And I was like,
no,
not this one.
Yes.
Erica's out here for her own. Like Erica's out here for content.
She will dunk on a 9-year-old to
She
prove
will.
her point.
Ruthlessly.
Exactly.
One of my favorite Erica things is something that no longer exists. It was on the wiki. The Erica wiki description. You know, characters usually have quotes in the wikis, and hers said, "What do you think, everyone?" /Erika when she's done being a bitch. The wiki just
What
said
do you
that. It's just the funniest thing, because you never expect a wiki to be like subjective like that. It was just so funny.
At that point, it's just, I think everyone collectively agrees. It's like, yeah, Erica's a shitty person.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, who goes to like a family party and then decided that like, you know, what's the best course of action? Having this whole family like do like a murder mystery on you, like just like play pretend, and you going to every single room to saw off all of their heads so you can make sure they're dead.
That was brutal, honestly.
I was like, what?
I still. I still think about that. Like that's just like the most ridiculous moment. Like Balor's like, "Hey, well they're still alive, you know." That like, and then Erica's like, "Not anymore. Not after I sawed off."
I
their
like
heads."
the part of that scene that I really think is funny is not the fact that like it's since the context of like them talking about like how they're playing if you take away like the fiction part of it and just have it to where it's Battler and Erica. This is basically Erica's like playing. It's like playing a pretend game, and Erica's like, "No, I have stronger powers. I killed everyone. Sorry. There goes your story."
It's my story now.
She's a terrible D&D player. That's basically
Wow.
what she is.
100%.
She's got to win. But even with all the shitty acts that she's been doing, I just, in general, I really appreciate her character just being there, because she offers another like perspective on the whole mystery side. And I still think fondly of her like conversation with Delanar, where it's she's just talking about her love troubles.
Yes.
I think I remember fondly the quote is like, it's like, here are like 47 reasons that you've
That
been
I
cheating
think you
on
cheated
me.
on me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, and I think the other part of that content is just like, can you prove your love to me, or can you give me the evidence that shows me that you actually love me? And I thought that was just like brutal on many aspects.
Yeah, because that basically becomes the most important part of the end of EP5, because the end of EP5 is about proving love. Like, you know, like how could Natsuki prove that she has like that she was faithful to her husband, like because everything in her diary is about how much she suffered and how much she hated everything. And I just love that. And I also think that's a very human I love how like people think of like, oh, it's a humanizing moment for Erica. Oh no, what is she gonna do now? It's probably gonna be something even more evil than before. She's great. Yeah, and I love their conversation with Delanor because Delanor comes off as the way more like how do I say, like justice, like that believes in like good things in people, and like
Uh,
and somehow she's just paired with the most villainy person possible.
yeah, I mean, she's got to have a wish.
Yep. I see Delanor as the person who like lays down the guidelines. But those are guidelines, not necessarily rules. In terms of like she can definitely look the other way if it's not breaking any particular rules.
Yeah.
However, Erica herself will be the enforcer to those rules themselves, not allowing anything to go out of a line. And I'm assuming that's like the reason why Delanor actually helps out Battler in the end of episode 5.
Yeah, I mean,
Or-
Delanor is like
Okay.
the impersonation of a rule system. So the rules favor whoever is playing with them, right?
That's a good way to see it.
Anyway, I am very curious about something because, I mean, Umineko is so long that you have an equally long recording time for Umineko. So how do you go about choosing clips to use in your videos?
So let's cover a little bit of backstory. So how I run my channel is I post videos every weekly, and I'm pretty consistent with those uploads. Every like Monday, you can expect something new from me. And I wanted to cover Umineko to complement the Higurashi-Go / Sotsu series I was covering. But I knew Umineko was very long,
Yeah.
and that is like a universally known fact.
Yeah, I was gonna say you read it in a record speed. It was incredibly insane.
It was just so fast.
I was like, how is you keep pumping out these episodes? Because I've been basically looking at your channel since you made like the first 2 experiment. And I was like, oh, easy, don't worry. We can get him on our podcast. Maybe we can get him on when he's like halfway point. And then like within basically a month, you finished like EV4. And I was like, oh no. And then when we were like reaching out to you, I guess like you already finished. You were like, don't worry. Like I'll be finished in another month. And I was like, that's insane. Like nobody goes through Umineko in like 4 months. Like unless you're crazy, I guess.
I wouldn't say it was. Well, yeah. I definitely, if I were to think about it, I definitely spent at least a month in actual reading time for Umineko
Yeah.
for both seasons. Even though a lot of that was like, all right, so I gotta work on editing the video, making sure everything's all fine and whatnot. But pretty much my thought process was like, okay, so it was the very first time I was doing it, I'm going to post my first reactions and live record myself reading Umineko, and that is going to be my content for the next couple of weeks. So we started with episode 1, but then we ran into a problem is because the whole episode is long to begin with. I think episode 7 itself is like 10 hours long.
Seven is the shortest.
Really? Okay.
I know it feels long.
EP4 is
I know it feels long.
EP4 is the longest, just lengthwise.
Episode 4 was definitely long based on my 2 separate videos on it. But how I organized it was, I definitely don't want to be working on Umineko the entire time. But I also know that like if I myself was watching this, I don't want to essentially like sit through hours just covering this. So what I did was I specifically cut the moments of the best parts of my reactions, as well as the fact that I wanted to convey the scene and my reaction as concisely as possible. So I would cut out parts of the conversation so that it made sense from A to B.
Okay.
If you understood what the scene was about and my reaction to that particular scene, then that was the whole, like, I guess, skit. And I would cut that particular moment.
That is really that's fascinating. Like that is basically a lot of work because I just like I said, like most Umineko fans are content with watching like a 50 episode Let's Play series. Most Umineko fans I know, who's actually in your comment sections, I know for sure have watched other like playthroughs. Like I see their comments in other playthroughs as well. So like if you would have actually, I guess, put out like a just like a long playthrough of it, like I'm sure that plenty of people would have watched it. But the way how you edited Umineko experience made it so much more accessible and just like snappy and fun to watch because like it's so concise.
Yep, that was the entire point of how I wanted to structure that, is because I wanted whoever was like watching my channel for the first time, and like any returner viewer would come and see the Umineko experience videos. And luckily it's 15 minutes to watch, so you can just like sit down and like get a bite of what the Umineko is.
Yeah.
And then I kept reading, and then the length just kept getting longer and longer and longer.
Yes. That's like question arcs. Yeah, an episode per episode. Then you get to answer arcs, and you start having to separate them into two. And I'm like, yeah, I knew that wouldn't take long to happen.
Yeah, when I got to episode 4, and I was thinking, oh, this is long. Because I was also coming down to the wire. It was like, it's like Sunday night. I was like, oh, I'm not going to have time to make this. I got to put something out. So I cut it in half and then made one half, 1 week, part 1. And then I would be fairly finished with the next half, and I would release that later on in the week. And so that's how I operated.
Yeah, I think, that's the best way to do it. I was honestly like surprised you even managed to condense the first 3 episodes into a single video.
Yeah, so my entire spiel about how I wanted the point A to point B to connect scene-wise, that was not established until episode 2, mainly because, like, I was afraid that some people might not understand, like, the joke or what was happening, so I decided to implement that in 2. And then that's why it started getting longer and longer as more parts got included.
Mm-hmm.
And there, like, not only that, it's also my reactions, and there's also specific sequences that I wanted to match as much as possible. But the thing about visual novels is that it's like literally just reading text and whatnot, and you're like watching things happen. But that's not gonna cut it for how long the videos were in particular. So pretty much what I would do for like some fight scenes is that I would direct and cut the action as it was happening right before your eyes, like in real time. So stuff that would happen much faster would happen immediately. And that's how I would conduct the scene moving forward. Because I wanted to keep that momentum.
Yeah, and I think you did it right. Like, I was watching it, and now, like, I did suspect that was the reason why there were some clips with no commentary. It was just because you wanted to keep the direction and like the feel of the scene.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I wasn't sure, so I wanted to ask you the question, and I guess that's it.
Yep.
That was a good call.
That was entirely a point.
Yeah.
I think like the one I can remember is like the magic fight between Beatrice and
Virgilia.
Yep.
Yeah.
So in the whole like concept or big picture, that fight doesn't actually matter at all. So
But it's such a good fight, and
it's a good fight, I will admit. But in terms of like, I gotta think about it. It's like, okay, so this scene is entirely pointless, but it's a cool scene. But the video was like 40 minutes long already. Like, I gotta make a decision, so that's why I had to compromise.
yeah. But I do think you like the whole way you organized the series and went about executing it was pretty good. I think like the content you kept in the video and the way it transitions from scene to scene. Honestly, I think you did an amazing job. It's a really valuable series that you added to the Umineko fandom.
Yeah, I also wanted to ask, like, how long were each of your episode recordings? Like, you must have been waiting through like 10 hours, 20 hours worth of like just pure recording in general, right?
Yes, if I were to look at my actual recording sessions, there's definitely lots of hours where it's just me talking and no actual like enjoyable reaction I could piece together. So pretty much I would do just run throughs.
You should just upload all that onto a separate channel. I would watch it. I'm very
That's a
bored.
lot but that's a like you have that on a separate hard drive, because that's probably taking a lot of space.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, it is quite a lot of space. But the thing is just that even though it's just me talking, like that's generally not as interesting as like the actual experience videos, because there are a couple of people who ask for those, but it's just not interesting. And plus it's just me rereading the lines because I messed up in the actual when I read it the first time. So like there's a good chunk of that. There's like a good like 30% of just me just like, oh shit, messed up that line, gotta reread it again.
Mm-hmm.
So
Oh, I feel that. It's really funny to watch somebody else play Umineko. I'm watching my friend Dubs playing it, and he would read like one line like 5 times, and I would just be like, "Could you move on?" And they were like, "No, no, no, I didn't understand what they were trying to say." And he would like scroll back up to read like the logs, and I'm like, every line he reads like 2 old lines again.
Yeah, some people are just slow readers.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
and that's what I wanted to convey, because it literally is just a visual novel that you're seeing. So, but going back to the question, in terms of the size of the actual recording footage, it is roughly around 200 gigabytes of footage.
Jesus,
Yeah, it's like quite a lot.
Wow.
that's delegation right there. I'm impressed. I think like to basically use 200 like gigs of content just to make like the most like concise video. That's so impressive.
Yeah, and I mean, that's pretty much how I guess a YouTube video should be structured. Just like, all right, deliver the content in the most concise way as possible. And that's what I typically do for my channel. Just get the point across, make a couple of jokes here and there. Whether or not they miss is entirely up to the viewer, and then just push it out. So, and definitely that includes both the full Umineko like visual novel, and as well as the Confession of the Golden Witch as well. So,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
context.
You mentioned how you had to redo lines because you messed up. So now I'm curious if there were any like challenges that you came across during the making of this series, like something that went wrong, and you had to find a way to circumvent it to be able to have the episode, to be able to make the video.
It was more time constraints, if anything. The most immediate one probably was like sometimes the recording would crash.
Yeah.
So I would lose an hour. I would lose an hour of recording.
That's so painful.
But that's I found a way. I found a workaround that in OBS. That's my recording software that I used. It was just pretty easy to work around that. But more along the lines is the time constraints and the editing. It's more like I need to be. I want it to be consistent, because people would look forward to this every week. It's like it's a series essentially. Just people will come back to it if they expect it every week.
Yeah.
So is that timing that was important to me.
Yeah. That does make sense.
I don't think I had any other particular issues with actually recording Umineko at all.
Well, that's fortunate.
I mean, Umineko probably doesn't take a lot of RAM, and recording it probably doesn't really do that much. I think that's one of the issues with like videos recording with OBS is like if you're recording something that takes a lot of RAM, it can really kind of screw your PC.
Yeah, I think I'm all good on the machine aspect. I got a $2,000 visual novel machine on here, so I think we're good. Spends $2,000 on like parts for a custom built computer. Just plays visual novels. Yeah, we're fine.
Oh my god, I have seen. I want to find that exact meme, but it's just like a guy. It's like a person going to buying like this beautiful like a built computer, and the guy's like, "What are you gonna play on here? Witcher 3, like Near Automata?" And it's like, yes, and it's just Umineko on the computer.
Yes.
Oh my! The meme I was thinking of is like that guy like cutting a steak, but he's just got a gigantic like knife, and that being the $2,000 computer, and the steak being just visual novels. But yeah,
Well, at least now you can read at 60 FPS. Amazing.
Yeah. Luckily, I got myself the Umineko with the 07th mod. So I have Umineko in all of its nice glory in terms of visuals and stuff.
Indeed.
Yeah. How do you like the voice acting and all of that?
Beatrice is fantastic.
No one will fight.
Pretty much Beatrice alone makes it worth it. So
Yeah.
yes, the voice acting and the music just do a fantastic job. Just the production is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's honestly like one of the best visual novels in terms of actual production I've seen in a long while.
Yeah, it's impressive to think that like for a small doujin game, they really went all out to like get really good like voice actors to do it, to even before that to get like a brilliant musicians to make like the most banger traps possible.
Well, because he's worked with, because I don't know a lot, because I know who he works with now. He works with Pomegranate and the other person with pomegranate. Yeah, because that's what he does with Ciconia. But I don't know what the whole thing about the music with Umineko, because I know like for Higurashi it was just like a bunch of musicians who were like, hey, I want to write music for the answer arcs, because at that point like the answer arcs haven't come out yet, and like you can definitely chill if you played Higurashi. You can definitely tell the change of the music with chapters 5 through 8.
Yep, I definitely realized that immediately as soon as like the music just started playing. I was like, oh, it's not like MIDI music anymore. Hooray! We've improved.
I mean, some of it still is.
Especially like chapter 1. It had music, but it was like very stock music.
Yes, Higurashi does have a lot of stock music, but some of it is good.
Not necessarily one I would revisit, on my drive to work.
No. Like, except maybe like, I think I really like, is it called Gear?
Yes, there is one called Gear.
Yeah, Gear.
That song's really good.
There's one really underrated track from Higurashi, which is stock free, and it's one that I frequently listen to. So yes, there are some stock music that you totally listen on the drive to work. You just gotta know which one it is, and it is Are of Can.
Oh, here's a question. What do you think of the Umineko visual novel OPs?
So I actually didn't pay attention to the openings that much, mainly because like it was so infrequent that I would see them. But the very first one I found myself extremely liking. Just there's a.
I think the first opening is Umineko no Nakukoro ni. I think that's just like the song.
Yeah, it's the original PC. Yeah, it's the original PC opening.
Oh, but like because you played the PS3 version, it might be a different opening.
Yeah, I think it's the PS3.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different openings, so like.
Yes.
But of course, like a lot of people also love One Wing, like Eagle, which is the opening for the anime, which still is one of the best things in the anime. It's just so good.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen the anime adaptation. I was gonna check that out at some point, but at that point I was just completely burnt out on Umineko, and I definitely needed to read some other stuff because I was amassing a huge backlog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Understandable.
Oh, yes, of course. Umineko anime, not good, but pretty entertaining to watch if you have time.
Yes. We did have a question. I guess you're kind of a veteran when it comes to reading a story with an audience, but still, how different is it reading something knowing a lot of people are gonna watch your reactions to it as opposed to reading it just on your own?
I honestly did not expect the reception I was going to get with the Umineko Experience series. I gave a hint, gave like a little promo saying like, hey, so this is coming out soon. Saying like, okay, cool, Umineko. But I definitely did not expect it for it to take off as well as it did.
Yeah.
Umineko fans are rabid. They basically they swarm anything that possibly can mention Umineko, and they will watch any creator if they did it. So.
Yeah,
I mean that's how I found your channel. So
that is because Umineko fans are super starved.
yes, that's very
They
true.
really want that content.
They do. They really do want that content.
We got the May crossover. That's what we got recently.
Wow.
Umineko content.
They're really starved for that content. It's like the Umineko fans and the Tsukihime fan base. Oh man.
I mean, Tsukihime. At least Tsukihime is getting isn't it getting a re-release?
Yes, it got a re-release as with Tsukihime Piece of the Blue Gus Moon. But that was after like 20 years or so, after pretty much dead silence.
I don't actually have that much sympathy for Type Moon fans just because they've been eating really well, but like I think like Tsukihime is like a very specific kind of fans. Like you don't have to be a Type Moon fan to be a Tsukihime fan, I say.
Mm-hmm.
There's like there's Type Moon fans and then there's the Tsukihime fans. There's like, well, I would say there's general Fate fans and then there's the very minor Tsukihime crowd that's just like, hey, please, can I get something more than just a fan, a physical fan?
What?
That you like the series. So the background story about that is that pretty much there was radio silence on anything Tsukihime related. Nothing about any updates to the remake at all, since it was actually initially announced 10 years ago, but like still nothing about it. Then they released like a merchandise item in a line of Fate stuff for like anniversary, and it was just one like physical fan, and then people were just up in arms about like, hey, we got something, we got something.
Yes, that is definitely Umineko fandom.
It's something for the fans. A fan.
Wow.
But that they're happy they got theirs. Umineko fans are probably still gonna have to wait, although. I do think that people still are interested in the When They Cry series. They're just waiting for Ryokishi to actually put something out about it. They do have like the Higurashi gacha game. I'm still confused why that got a gacha game, but apparently it's doing moderately successful.
A part of me, like my whole guess about the whole gacha game is, I think like this is what Ryukishi mindset is. Ryukishi sees Type Moon and it's like, ah yes, the Fate series. Like the Fate series came out during the same time I did, and how did they get so much success? And like, you know, like if Fate is gonna have a gacha game, I will have a gacha game. Like if Fate got to have anime remakes, I get anime remakes. But like at least like I don't know, Unlimited Blade Work was made by like a very good company who like burned as much money as possible to make the most beautiful like remake possible, and Yukishi's like, let's write the most like I don't know, a story that would not only confuse newcomers but confuse old fans alike and make everybody so mad on Twitter that the word lesbian chandelier double suicide was murder suicide was trending on like Twitter when that episode came out.
What? Oh man, that is okay.
Yeah. So like that was how ridiculous it is, and I'm like it's kind of like the curl monkey paw feeling. Like Yukishi's like, I want when they cry fandom to be revived again, and then curl the monkey paw, and then Gou and Sotsu came out.
They were like, here you go, here's the story you wanted.
Yeah, and then May is the May is just kind of nothing. They've been collaborating with other visual novel things, but like it's been kind of really nothing.
It's very mid.
Yeah, because in terms of like When They Cry works, I'm only not When They Cry, but rather Ryukishi works. I'm only really familiar with like the When They Cry series. There's the Gunrose Days series that he's made.
Rose Days, yeah.
There's the Iwai Hime, which I actually covered as a visual novel and reviewed, which is not necessarily the best of his works, but it is still his work. It's pretty much the same style of writing in terms of like heavy description of Ryokishi horror. But if the visuals were actually complemented to it.
Yes,
so there's some pretty horrific imagery in Iwai Hime.
Iwai Hime.
Yeah. But it's essentially Ryukishi's take on the folklore, on Japanese folklore, with a bit of fantasy to spick on into there.
Interesting.
And I'd say it's closer to a Higurashi style, where everybody looks like Higurashi writing style, but then what if everybody was like really pretty, and then but also like if you get to have like Saya no Uta level of just like gore. Like horrible gore. Like,
damn, really?
Do you see this cute? Yeah, did you ever never heard about Iwahime? Or
I know about Iwahime, but I've never heard anybody talk about it.
Yes, same.
I mean,
it's not very talked about.
I mean, I've read parts of Iwahime, but I don't think I can stomach through rest of Iwahime. It's just a lot. Like, there's a lot of like, there's horrible like rape stuff and like tentacles and like very intense gore. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I like Saya no Uta, so I imagine like if I had to sit through all of Iwahime, I would enjoy it in the end. But like, I wouldn't say it's the best of the Yukishi work, and I should probably read Rose Gun Days before I go in.
I think that's a bit of an over exaggeration, because it's not necessarily that. It's more tamer, but it's just more of like the graphic horror-esque. Like, nothing's actually shown in terms of like bodies being like torn apart seamlessly or anything, or something like similar to the fingernail scene in Higurashi.
Oh, fuck that.
But it's just more. It's more just like graphic horror, I guess. It's, how would you put it? It's like It's like a picture of a zombie in terms of a graphic horror.
Okay.
With Ryukishi style descriptions. And there's the occasional weird stuff in there.
I assume you haven't. Have you read Rewrite at all?
I am waiting for the official translation. It's supposed to be coming out fairly soon. 2021 Q4. But considering we're 1 month away from Q4 ending, so I'm still patiently waiting.
Yeah.
So, going back to Umineko as kind of like just a way to get into the closing segment of the episode, I guess by the conversation we've been having, I think I have a good idea of what the answer is, but did you enjoy the ending of Umineko? What are your thoughts on it?
Okay, the ending of Umineko. So episode 8 was a very interesting trip regardless, mainly because like it definitely increased its scope in terms of what it wanted to be, because it was not only a tale of tragic love slash murder mystery inheritance slash fantasy thriller, but it was also a narrative on like how we interpret fiction itself, the whole meta analysis of fiction.
Yep.
So in terms of how it handled its ending, I thought it was a very nice ultimatum when it gives you that final question at the end. I ultimately chose the magic ending because definitely one of the main reasons was that everything leading up to that point was in line for Anja's character for the magic ending. And choosing the trick ending would be kind of just a whole rejection of that whole character development. So I kind of also did not want to do that.
Yeah,
That's a good way to see it.
I know I just read this 200-hour visual novel leading up to the magic ending, but yeah, sure, let's pick the trick ending.
Just like, yep,
You know
nope,
what?
bye.
She's someone who just says no.
The Erica move.
Yes.
It's like, you know what? I don't want to change. Character
Yes.
development? What's that?
You know what? Maybe depression isn't so bad after all. Trick.
It's like skydiving is fun. So the thing about the whole magic, they offered both the magic ending and the trick ending. So the thing about one of those like the very heavy ultimatum choices is I've only experienced 2 in this visual novel, or in all my times reading visual novels. It's this one and one other one.
What's the other one?
The other one is Yumi and Her.
Yeah!
Yeah, that one.
Who did you pick?
I chose.
Yes!
I did too.
Yeah, I did too.
Me
All
too.
4 of us have just. I'm glad, all of us. Let's all air high five each other right now. Yumi and Her is so good.
It's definitely
Good on that.
definitely a great story, but I felt that like that heavy importance of like this decision matters and you can't go back from that. So when I eventually arrived at the choice I made, I chose the magic ending, and I never went back and read the true end, or went back and chose the trick ending. So
That's good.
I am faintly aware of what happens in the trick ending because I did ultimately end up reading the episode 8 manga, as well as the Confession of the Golden Ending, episode 8
Witch.
manga
Yes.
and the
Like a
Confession.
little witch.
Yes.
So I read all of that, and so I did understand what happens inside of the trick ending, but I don't actually know how it's explained in the visual novel, though. That's the only thing. So
I say it's nothing like in You and Me and Her, to where it's the story literally tells you don't restart the game and go see what your choice is, right? In Umineko, I'd say knowing what the other choice is actually it's important for the character.
It makes narrative sense.
Yeah.
You understand like the narrative a little bit better if you know both endings.
Yes.
But it's not too major. Like, I still haven't read the trick ending. I know what happens in it, but I've never read it.
everyone has their own interpretation of like, and that decision at the very end is definitely up for the reader to choose. So I don't doubt anyone who decides to go in with the trick ending as their final answer, because ultimately Umineko is just it's a story about the interpretation, or what your interpretation of the events are, and what you get out of it at the very end. So I appreciate that the visual novel decided to go for that open-ended interpretation. That said, I know many people, or I know a good amount of people aren't going to be satisfied with that, because just the whole how it's all structured and how people want their answers given to them, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I can understand that sentiment.
Yeah, I see that. I think, like, I mean, think about it. What would Battler want Angel to choose? Like, I think, like, in that ending, that part, like, it's not only about, like, I don't know, what you want to choose as a reader, but, like, what would make sense for Angie as a person. Like, she basically experienced all of Umineko with you in a way, and, like, you know, would she pick Trick at that point? Like, I think it's a really cool choice to have, because of the fact that there's basically no choices throughout all of Umineko, to besides the whole like mini game quid section and Burn Castell's game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was gonna
Mhm.
ask you about the Burn Castell game. Like, I think you talked about it in your in your experiment video where you like spend a lot of time thinking. Like, so like, how did you enjoy that part?
So, okay, so that was one of the points where it was just like, oh, shit, you're gonna have to make me work for this, aren't you?
Mhm.
So, like, I was all wrapped up in my blankets, like in my bed, just like reading Umineko, and then they offered that puzzle to me. I'm like, oh, I have to get out of my bed and actually do this now. So I just got out of the bed, took off the blankets, just like, all right, let's took out a notepad. I was like, all right, let's figure this out. So it's actually kind of fun, given how it's very streamlined and a very normal mystery. I wasn't surprised at all. Like, I had an inkling of who was the culprit in the end, and my initial theory was correct. I just wanted to be 100% sure, because I know in those instances I would be wrong unless I didn't get it unless I didn't know for sure 100% that it was that person.
Yeah. And I think the inclusion of the purple text really prevents a big problem that that segment could have that it doesn't. I think the purple text is just very
What was
convenient.
the problem that segment could have, Des?
Well, if you didn't have the purple text, every time you wanted to check a detail, you'd have to read the whole thing again. So you were saying about how Umineko is very focused on the reader's interpretation. So does that also apply to your opinion of Confession? Do you think Confession shouldn't give the answers?
Sorry, before you go into it, I want to basically give everybody an idea about the confession. So I know, like, after you finish EP8, like, lots of people in your comment section told you to go read the Umineko 8 manga, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's correct.
So, yeah, and then you end up reading the Umineko confession. And I feel like oftentimes, like, confession is a really, how do I say, divisive piece of media where lots of people love it and then a lot of people don't want to read it. Like, I know people who like actively resisted reading confession because they don't want to have that answer to be given to them.
Mm-hmm.
And you seem like you had a fairly like more negative-ish like not negative, but like you were like in the end of your experience you also said like I kind of didn't need that. So like did your opinion of that change after like you made that episode of that YouTube video, or what's your thoughts about it now?
So those negative aspects were in regards to exactly the specific events that happened. I'm not saying that like it was negative for me to know those answers, but it just gave me a negative feeling. So in terms of the confession and the episode 8 manga, I view those as how I separated those is that the manga is an adaptation. It is not necessary in my eyes. It was not necessarily,
It's not fully canon in a way.
yeah, if you want to go with that. If you want to see it in another example, it's like two separate universes existing at the same time of the Umineko story. So I considered them entirely separate. Episode 8 was interesting because it revealed a lot of the answers, and it definitely switched things up so that it showed you what exactly happened, who's the culprit, and outright explains to you what the murders, or who the culprit and who the murders are, being redundant. But that's essentially what the point was. So the thing about that is that the manga was also was in a way trying to convey its own message, that even though you learn the truth of what's actually going on, you're going to use that full actual truth to carve your path forward into the future. I'm paraphrasing essentially my full ending thoughts of the confession video. It's like at the very end, because I definitely was a lot more coherent in that one or in that video. But essentially the manga has an entirely different message that plays off of the answers that it gives. And that's why I like the manga for why it existed. That said, I fully understand if people don't want to read the confession of the manga, since it is in fact a slight rejection of the themes in the visual novel. That's why I made it a point to separate the visual novel and the manga. Because if you had took those same answers from the manga and applied those to the themes of the visual novel, they just contradict itself.
Do you have any examples of that? Like, is it just because, like, for example, like in the visual novel, it's a lot about like thinking for yourself, like trying to find your own interpretations, and the fact that like the manga just gives it out to you so blatantly, just like kind of reject, like it's like it
That's pretty
just
much it.
rejects the idea.
Yep, that's pretty much it. It's the themes that matter. So the visual novel of Umineko is more along the lines of your open-ended interpretation, because whatever you want to believe, given all of the information you have so far, is entirely up to you, and whatever answer you arrive at is your answer, and that should be well in your right to fully accept that. The manga is just different in that aspect, mainly because again everything is all clear cut. So the answers you arrive at after learning that information, you're going to use in the future. For whatever answer you obtain from the manga will be used to delineate whatever perspective you have on the future. If that made any sense at all.
Yeah.
I think I got it. Oh yes, so you said you did end up reading the rest of the EP8 manga as well, right?
Yep, including the Confession of the Golden Witch.
Ah, yes. So one of the things that I wanted to ask you was that like did you enjoy the part about like the whole Halloween party? So a lot of people like when they are talking about Umineko like manga versus VN is that people love the VN, but like for myself, I like the way how Umineko manga handles the Halloween party so much more than the basically how it's done in the VN. Like I like it's just so much more emotional, and it also does like it has a lot more like I don't know emotional closure in that sense.
Yep, definitely agree with you there. The logic puzzles were cool in that aspect, but definitely the manga had a better version of it. Definitely going into more of the backstory and emotional history between the characters, and I guess their regrets about everything so far, given that they're in the Golden Land now. So,
Yeah. I think that's pretty much everything you wanted to cover. Is there anything else you guys want to ask August, or that August wants to say?
So far, I guess in terms of my concluding thoughts, just overall, just a really great read. Every episode had very memorable aspects from it, from like Natsuhi's entire redemption arc, from Erika's entire existence, to the fight between Shannon and Kanan, and the whole gigantic reveal and the final fight in the Golden Land. All of it was just enjoyable to watch. And the music definitely helped in that regard. There's some fantastic tracks in there.
Yes.
All of the ZTS's very bombastic electronic techno tracks to Dai's more emotional, softer sounding works. Overall, just a great cohesive experience. The Confession of the Golden Witch was just a really great tragic romance, and even though it ended up the way it is, and I felt sad for Sayo, I want to believe that there was a possible future in which she would have been perfectly fine, or she would have been accepted. I think that's a slight tragedy in that, and the manga did a very good job in highlighting her entire tale.
Journey.
Journey throughout the whole thing.
Well, I am glad you enjoyed Umineko, because it's a really special story to anyone who goes through it.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on to our podcast. Oh, before we end this, I am going to plug this. If everybody noticed that August Hale's icon, it is a icon of when Hikaru was still on Earth. If any of you people like to read visual novels, go read old light novels. Go read Nomura's work. Go read Book Girl. I know I wasn't gonna. I know that I decided that I wasn't gonna talk about it, but since I have the podcast right now, I just want people to go do that. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yes,
But-
use the podcast to go embrace your old habits.
There's a lot of my old work still out there. Definitely because I used to cover light novels in the past, and I reviewed those. But just literally everything attached to my name is available on the internet to read. So go check it out if you want.
Yes, and So what are the things you want to plug besides your YouTube channel? We'll have links in the description for everything.
Definitely, if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at the August Hale. Pretty much I cover visual novels, but mostly just reaction to stuff. I occasionally write small little threads about them, as well as retweeting nice, cute anime girl art. That happens.
Now that's worth it.
Is there anything else that you would like to plug, or should we just close up the episode now?
You are free to check out my YouTube channel at The August Sale. Stuff will be coming out. And feel free to look through my old catalog. There might be something you might be interested in, just for anyone here or just anyone out watching. So
Okay, then.
Okay.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode and that you go check out the August Hale channel, especially the series of videos we've been talking about. And I hope August enjoyed being in this episode as well.
yeah, it was great being here.
And yeah, we'll see you on our next episode. See ya.
Bye.